Good morning. Welcome to our last meeting of the year. We are here for the Legislative and Human Resources Committee meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 10th, and it is 8:31. At this point in time, I will open up the meeting for public comment. If there's anyone that would like to address the committee at public comment, you have no more than 3 minutes.
How you doing, How you doing? All right. How you doing, everybody? I'm D. Jones, passionate entrepreneur and visionary. It's kind of crazy. It's the last Human Resource and Legislative Committee. I'm going to be probably at all of the ones I can in 2025 still, though. But I'd like to speak about this year. So during the presidential campaign, I heard a lot of things like Donald Trump closed down 6 factories here in the state of Michigan. But as I heard that, all I could think is that D. Jones helped his school district build 6 esports labs. Remember these numbers in the future. And so I hear that, and then I go to the CAA and I hear, look at all of the biggest buildings that we have in our state. And the DeVos place is the third, the Huntington place is the first. And I could think of an experience I had at the Huntington place this year. I actually seen Barack Obama speak, and I shook hands with Barack Obama this year at the Huntington place. And that's pretty unique because I'm from Chicago. I'm left-handed too. I think we got a lot of things in common. And I think my purpose is here, definitely special here on the universe. I was in Dubai a couple years ago, and I was in Dubai. One of the Rothschilds was in the room with me. It was a crazy experience, and somebody walked up to me and said, "Hey, one of the Rothschilds is in the room." I'm just like, "Oh, that's crazy. One of the powerfulest families to ever live, and they're super rich and everything else." And I'm just like, that's a crazy experience, and I'm never going to let nobody, regardless of their ethnicity or status or power, I'm never going to let any of that get to me. And I just going to always just remember that I got a special purpose here too, and I could be powerful, I could be rich, but I could be ethical, and I could be equitable, and I can give back to my community, and I can create change, and I could be a leader, and I could be a pioneer. And as I earned this $10,000 grant, and I was at this event, it was like all older ladies. It was like 40 older ladies. It was just D. Jones. And I was just trying to speak to the president of the community foundation. And I happened to run into Holly, who's the president of the Frey Foundations, which we know the Freys are a vital part of building all of the facilities that we have around here. And I got to eat lunch with the Frey Foundation and see Doug DeVos speaking, the old superintendent and the law professor. And it was just a cool experience because I know that everything that I'm doing is going to affect laws, and it's going to affect society, and it's going to affect education already, which everybody in this room knows. But I think what I'm just really trying to say is that for the common good and the social good, this equitable work that I've been doing is definitely going to have a social impact that's going to have effect on legislation, and it's definitely going to bring human resources back to Kent County and further on. So I'm very excited to just explain to you guys my experiences and the things I've been through, because I'm definitely a special person. I know I'm going to change society one day. Thank you.
Thank you, D. Jones. When you shook President Obama's hand, did you tell him you had a better jump shot than he did or not? Okay. All right. So do I. Is there anyone else that would like to address us at the public comment section? All right, seeing no one, we will close that portion of our meeting. Approval of minutes. I need a motion by Teal, supported by DeBoer. Any comments, questions, changes? If not, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed. Last meeting's minutes have been approved. Next item on our agenda is from our medical examiner, performance measurement review and annual report. Dr. Cole, chief medical examiner. Oh, he is not in the building today. So, all right, no problem. Do we want to, are you okay with the presentation or? Okay, let's go. I love it.
Everyone hear me fine? So thank you for seeing us today and doing our performance review. I'm very excited. Been looking forward to doing this year, as it's my first one as director since I got hired. I want to say, to start with, our mission is we always aim to serve veterans in our community, to assist them in getting the benefits they're eligible for, and for connecting them with resources in our community. And I want to show that we've been doing that very well this last year. When it comes to claims, we did 466 claims that were submitted. With the dollar awards that came in this year, we are actually have a 7% increase from last year. And I want to note that this is important because we were only on a 9-month reporting because we switched over a fiscal year this last year. So we're 7% higher than last year's at 12-month. That's really big at bringing in $4.7 million in federal money to our veterans that they can then, pay for their rent, pay for their housing, pay for their electric, give them financial security in our county, and spend their money in our county. So that's really, really important. Second thing we do is through our emergency relief, which we actually have gone down this last year in veterans needing emergency relief, which I was looking at the correlation between the two of us getting so much money out in the community. They're not needing us as much to help pay for their rent and their electricity. We actually went down 52% from 2023. Which that's really exciting for us. We always, at the end of the day, if we could have a 0 there for veterans not needing help, that would be super. Will it happen? No. But the lower we get that number means the harder work we're doing getting them set up before they need the help, getting to them. So that's really exciting. Burials were down also by 61%. So we didn't have a lot of veterans passing away and needing help with their burial allowances, things like that. So that was good for the year also. Over the last 4 years, I have been sitting doing a study on our SSR funds to see where most of our funds have been going to. And it looks like most of it is for housing. 36% of our SSR has gone to housing to keep people housed, keep our veterans housed in the county. And the next part after that is food to make sure that they are fed. And one of our goals is always to help end homelessness for veterans. And this shows that is mainly what we've been doing with our SSR is stopping homelessness, keeping people in their homes, keeping them fed, keeping families together. Very exciting stuff. We've been working real hard at that. We've been doing some surveys, getting them in from different people coming in. And we've been getting, I know this committee has always asked for different stories from the people we work with, the clients we work with. And the last couple of years, we've been trying to get surveys out to get people to give us those stories, to get that feedback to us. So we finally have been getting that. And here are some of the quotes that are coming from them where we're really respectful. They care for me. Thank us very much. Exceptionally knowledgeable, kind. Our people are always there to help. My favorite is a little box with that is actually a card from a flower shop that was sent to us. And I want to tell you the story specifically about this one because it kind of touched my heart. It's kind of important. We had a spouse who was a surviving spouse. The husband had passed away, Agent Orange, that type of stuff. The daughter, the mom needed, she was having Alzheimer's. She needed to go to nursing care. Couldn't afford it. The daughter's trying to take care of her. The daughter was beside herself. Couldn't figure out what was going on. They came in, called us. They sat down with one of our VSOs, Teresa Ergang, and she was able to find that they were eligible for what's called a DIC benefit, which pays them for the rest of her life because her husband died to a military cause. It allowed them to pay for their nursing care that this surviving spouse needed. Got her into her nursing home. She's thriving now. And as the daughter says, this is the first time now that she's been able to sleep because she knows her mom is taken care of. That is what we really do in this office is we want to give our veteran surviving spouses that feeling of real security. So other things that we have going on that we've been doing during the year is our different programs through millage funded and through an MVA funded programs. And what I've done on this slide, which I also gave in your Visio report, is the participation for different numbers of people that go to the different programs. And these numbers are all unique. Like if you look at Veterans Rising, that's 168. Those are new people, but there's also these people return to the programs. So there was 168 veterans that were gone to do different types of things, be it blacksmithing, rock climbing, a lot of getting them in groups so they talk to themselves, so they can be with other people so they're not separated. That's the worst thing for a veteran. Being a veteran myself, we tend to separate, and it's better if we come in as a group, and that's what these programs are for. And we've been really successful with them. Other ones that are on there, like Community Rebuilder, Disability Advocates, What those do is we help fund for like if people need ramps inside their homes, they're in a wheelchair, they need a ramp come up. Community rebuilders will come in and build a ramp for them. We help fund that. So there's different things that they could do. If they need help refurbishing their bathroom to be able to have their wheelchair accessible to their bathrooms, they'll come in and help do that. So we fund a lot of those programs like that with Senior Neighbors, Community Rebuilder, Disability Advocates. We also have one of my favorite things is my community dental. We're running a uninsured veterans dental program with them where they could come in and get emergency dental care if they have very little insurance or no insurance. And they've had this last year, they had 143 participants that were able to come in. They were actually, that number should be higher, but because we hit the 9-month mark, they're actually booked further. They're booked next 4 months going, and they've been booked like that since last April. So they just didn't have enough time to get everyone in. So it was actually be a lot higher than that. But we're keeping people's teeth in their mouth, keeping the cavities going. It's absolutely fantastic program down there. Not to mention Arbor Circle, that's for mental health and drug rehab counseling. And we got 51 51 participants in that are getting help staying off of drugs, getting away from that self prescription, self drug thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's very exciting. Lots of things going on. So at that, I wanted to make it short and sweet for everyone. So I want to thank you. And I want to thank the Board of Commissioners for their continued support for our office. It's always been your guys' support that has allowed us to keep this going. So thank you very much. And I want to open any questions.
Well, thank you. I might be one of the first folks that actually, when I tell them less than 10 minutes, actually kind of stuck it inside that. So
They harped on me hard. Keep it under 10 minutes. I was like, I'll keep it to about 8 or 6 and let you guys do questions.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Commissioner Pakla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ryan, thanks for being here so much. Great presentation, and I'll echo the shortness as an appreciation here. On the report that we got in our packet, there was a pie chart about responses to the question, how did you hear about the Veteran Services? And I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about what that referral process looked like. And specifically, I'm thinking, are there areas that potentially could see increases in referrals that you're working on, places that our veterans are engaging that you might be able to get in front of them to let them know more about that? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's no problem. So yes, exactly. That's one of my plans going into this next year is when I was running to get hired for this job, I wanted to be able to go out to where the veterans are. And that's my plan going forward after January is I'm going to start getting out to where the veterans are so we can get those referrals coming in. Okay. So where most, and like you said there, where most people hear about us is word of mouth from friends, from people who have been in. And that's where I want to keep building that further and further. And part of our overall new marketing plan that's going to be coming in is me getting out to the local VFW posts, American Legion posts, going to where the veterans are so they know we exist. One of my biggest overall goals, and something I've been here for 14 years, and I hate to hear is when someone comes in and goes, "We never knew you existed." I hate that phrase, and I want to kill that phrase as fast as I can. I want everyone in this county, every veteran, any family member of a veteran, know that we exist, and I don't ever want to hear that again. So that's my plan, is to get out there, get our name out there, get those referrals going, and get people in.
That's great. As that takes place, I'd be curious to see a breakdown of how many are actual word of mouth versus, there was a pamphlet at the VFW, there was a pamphlet at the doctor's office or something like that, because I think it could provide some really interesting insights on how people are being referred.
Absolutely. And I'll have that for next year's report. I'll get that in the report.
Great. Looking forward to it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair. Really appreciate all the hard work that you're doing and your enthusiasm. I think your emphasis on trying to facilitate more understanding of the benefits and getting out there with that message is really important. For the benefit of those who are watching on YouTube or whatever, you mentioned SSR, and we love acronyms, but you didn't really say what that was. It's Soldier and Sailor Relief Assistance, and very important that we stay focused on their needs, especially the needs of the family members who are left behind. And the story you gave about the family that was able to get assistance, I readily recognize the importance of, making sure that, the widows of the soldiers are also benefiting from these programs. So thank you for reaching out to them also.
Thank you.
All right, any other commissioners? Commissioner Hennessy.
I have appreciated the outreach that your department is doing because every place I go, I seem to see you, whether it be a graduation ceremony for treatment court at 63rd District or the strong participation you had in Art Prize. And perhaps you can talk a little bit about putting that together and sustaining that for the length of Art Prize.
Oh, yeah. Every year we love the Art Prize program, and let you know it is going on again this year. We've got a new person running, heading it up this year. We love Art Prize. We love getting the veterans out to do their art and come together, and it's a healing process for them. And that's why it's super important to us too, because it brings all those veterans together to do art through healing, and it's very important for us. Plus, it gets the word out about what we're doing and the good things that are out there, gets their stories out to the community too. When the community comes in, they get to talk to each one of the artists and hear their stories. It's really great for everyone involved. And like you said, you see us everywhere, and that's part of our goal. I mean, we're about to hire a new outreach specialist. So that's my goal going forward, is just to get us out even further than what you've already been seeing. So thank you. Thank you.
All right, any other commissioners? I'd just like to thank you for the job that you do. I'm a SAIL member, and through you mentioning that you're going to be visiting the American Legions and the VFW post, I just see when you walk into those places, these folks, talk to you right away. They're engaging. They want to know, are you a son? Are you a Legion member? What you're, if you're not, who served where. I mean, what a welcoming group of people that. Again, when my son walks in there, the stories they all tell it's just fun. It's exciting. So again, what a great spot to reach out to our veterans and let them know the services. So thank you for that. Again, thank you for your service and the great
Thank you.
the great work that you do. So thank you very much.
Appreciate you all. Thank you.
All right, next item on our agenda, we just flip flop these medical examiners. Dr. Cole.
No problem. All right, go back and forth.
Just that one. Yeah, got it. Okay, so the medical examiner report. First, a brief, and I think what I have 8 to 10 minutes or so. I'll try to confine myself to that. At any rate, the first thing I thought I'd mention is our overall job as mandated by state law. So we have to examine certain kinds of deaths. And this includes unexpected natural deaths, that is, people who suddenly collapse and die, or people who are found dead at home and it appears to be natural. Basically, people who are not under immediately a doctor's care when they die. So we examine those. Most of them are quite elderly people with a long medical history, but some of them aren't, and I can go into more detail if needed. So all accidental deaths. So this includes falls. That's the biggest single group of our accidental deaths. People who are could be at home, but they're elderly, or they're in a nursing home or some other facility where they fall. They get a hip fracture usually, and they just can't recover. Sometimes it's a head injury, but they just go downhill and die. Those are reportable to us. Second biggest group is drug overdoses. We did see a downturn in those in September, and I think that has continued. We don't have all of our data for the rest of the year, but of course, the year isn't over. But anyway, so drug overdoses is number 2, and it a few years ago passed car accidents as number 2. So car accidents are now number 3. Then, of course, we investigate all suicides and all homicides. Basically, the way we undergo these, or we go about doing these investigations, is we have 8 in medical examiner investigators who are contacted by the individual or individuals who are in charge of the deceased person when they're pronounced dead. So that's usually police or hospital people. So they call, they get one of our investigators. The investigator then goes to the scene if appropriate and if possible. Sometimes people are injured and taken to the hospital and die. There's no scene for us. But anyway, they gather information is what they do, either from the scene and from people in charge of the individual. They then contact Dr. Start or me, we're the medical examiners, and we decide if an autopsy is warranted. In that particular case, we're doing about 29% of all of our investigations have autopsies, and the rest we certify the death based on the investigation. Anyway, and if an autopsy is to be done, then the body is transported to our current morgue facility, which is at Blodgett, and then we perform the autopsy, do the death certificate, sign the death certificate, and testify if there's a court case or whatever. So that's our basic role. Very briefly, we are, I guess, underway to construct a new morgue. We badly need one. We've been in the same facility since before I came. I think we've had the morgue at Blodgett since about 1980 or so. And we get sewage overflows periodically, and it's very small. We have inadequate body storage and so on. And then there are some inefficiencies with our administrative staff. The main one of which is Brittany Richardson, who is our office administrator, who put together this PowerPoint. But they're at the health department, she and her assistant, and then the rest of us are at Blodgett. So we need to be all in one place. At any rate, I think I'll go on to the performance measure review, and then I'd certainly entertain questions if there are any. And there are the two of us. Our strategic goals, again, as I mentioned, to determine the cause and manner of death in cases required under the law. Our goals, which are internal, are to respond to a scene. If there is a scene, somebody's dead in a car crash or whatever in a house, to get there within an hour of being notified. Our investigators produce a report, and it's an investigative report. It's separate from the autopsy. We want 95% of those case reports completed within 2 months. And the reason it may take longer than just a few days, for example, is we may be waiting on toxicology results. We may be waiting on trying to get more medical information on the deceased, or contacting families for information. So there are circumstances under which it can take sometimes even longer than 2 months, but our goal is to get 95% of our reports completed. We have a 3-month goal to turn around our autopsy reports. So in those 30% or so of cases that have an autopsy, we would like to complete that autopsy within 3 months of, complete the autopsy report within 3 months of accepting the case for an autopsy. And so, again, I can go into that in more detail, but because of limited time, I'll see if anybody has questions about it. Our metrics, let's see, I think I've mentioned some of that. To provide response within 1 hour of notification by our investigators. So we have two major types of cases. There's our overall cases in which we are contacted cases that might be a medical examiner case under the law. Not all of them are. So we get something like 1,800, I think it's around 1,800, 1,900 cases called into us, of which we accept about 1,456. The ones we don't accept are people who die maybe under hospice, and the hospice nurse isn't sure what to do. So they'll call our office and we'll say, no, that's not a medical examiner case. You have to have the attending doctor sign the death certificate. And that takes a fair amount of time to sort that out. But that's an example of cases that we don't accept. Of our 300 scene investigations, we had a 97.1% response within 1 hour, so we are above that goal. And then again, we want to publish our investigative reports within 2 months of acceptance. And we are at a 99.9% completion rate for that. Our autopsy reports, we're not doing quite as well. We want to complete the report within 3 months. I think as of now, because I've put on a big push to finish some of my reports, we're just in that we're in that range of completing. We're about 88% or so of our cases are completed. And actually, I see that 91.2% were completed. So again, those can be problematic if we're looking at toxicology results. Some of the drugs that are out there take special testing, which we have to send to a referral lab, and that turnaround can take a while. Our caseload, as you can see, it's slight. The total caseload usually has slightly increased over the last 10 years. We've been at, again, around 17 or 1,800 total cases, of which 14 or 1,500 are accepted as medical examiner cases, and of that 14 or 1,500, about 30% are autopsy. So we have a number of quite a bit of demographic data, again, which will also be in the form of our 2023 annual report. But our cases, you can see there, we break them down by ethnicity, by age. Of course, the older people are the biggest single group. About 2/3 of our cases usually are males, because those, again, our cases are largely accidental or unexpected deaths. And males tend to be big risk takers compared to women. So they're going to have a bad outcome more often. So one of the determinations that we have to make is manner of death. So the manner of death is basically a way in which the death came about. It's really not for legal determination. In other words, if we call a death a homicide, that doesn't mean the prosecutor has to prosecute it as a murder. But we make these determinations as to the manner, mainly for statistical purposes. The Centers for Disease Control uses our data to formulate or to get an idea of the national rate of these kinds of deaths, and that can dictate or inform safety measures and so on. Give us an idea of what things are killing people. So again, as in most years, about 60% of our cases are natural. Many of them are elderly people that don't get an autopsy. 31% accident, and then suicides are somewhere a little, generally slightly more than twice the number of homicides. And then we have a very small percent in which, after doing an autopsy and lab testing or so on, we still don't have a definite cause of death. And again, that's because I don't want to take up too much time on that, I can discuss that later. And then we have a small chart there on the right with in graph form. Drug use. This, of course, has been a scourge of the whole country as well as Kent County over the years. It's interesting, the trend. About 7-8 years ago, in that realm, our main drug was methadone. Methadone is a narcotic that is used either for pain control or to help wean people off of heroin. And patients would go to the clinic and get too much methadone or save it up or buy it on the street, and they would overdose on it. Well, now it's fentanyl. It's been fentanyl for about 3 or 4 years at least. And so fentanyl is the vast majority, and most of that is coming in from Mexico through the drug cartels. And so I think that's the main point of this. So last year we had 42 cases of death involving children 17 and younger. The ones that are like 14 or 15 and older up to 17, they tend to die the way adults do. Homicide, suicide, of course, not too many natural deaths. But the younger children, a lot of, I would say the most striking cause of death in the younger kids is asphyxia. These are infants, and it's usually related to co-sleeping. And for many years, not that we all haven't done it, or at least I'm sure I did when I had younger kids, but you know, you're not really supposed to sleep with your kids because there's the possibility of accidentally rolling on them, or they get rolled over face down into the covers and they asphyxiate. So that is probably the single most important, it is the single most important cause of death in younger children. Well, accomplishments, we have maintained for I think 10 to 12 years, our accreditation by the National Association of Medical Examiners. This is a program where this national organization comes in. Every 2 or 3 years, they send an inspector, and the other years we self-inspect. But it's just kind of a standard of excellence for how we do our reports, how we do our work. And we've, again, because of our current morgue situation, which when the bodies are brought in, they're brought in right off of Wealthy Street, so the neighbors can see bodies being brought in and so on. So there's a bit of a lack of privacy, and we're hoping that new morgue, well, we know with the plan we have for the new morgue that would alleviate that concern. But nonetheless, we've been able to maintain our certification. Unclaimed bodies are a problem that we have where sometimes they're unhoused folks that die and that we can't find the family. It's not infrequent that we know who the family is and they don't come forward or they refuse to do anything. And so then we have a process with several funeral homes here where there's a small amount of state money that can be used just to at least have a wooden coffin and bury them. And so that's how we have to get rid of them. Or that's how we have to deal with them. Excuse me. Yes, Gift of Life. So the organ harvesting people known as Gift of Life, they're out of Ann Arbor. They take whole organs when available. That means brain dead, beating heart donor. They can take heart, liver, lungs, kidneys primarily. And but they have to get our permission to harvest them. So these people are brain dead, so they're officially dead. That means they're reportable to us. And then we when we can, almost always if it's a working organ, we okay the harvesting. They also take skin and bone and corneas, and that we usually cooperate with. It kind of conflicts with the autopsy, but we try to get around it and do the best we can and make sure that we're not missing anything. But we are the second county in the state. We're second highest behind Wayne County for donations. So we're very pleased with that. We've gotten some recognition from Gift of Life for that. We did generate $243,000. I didn't, because of limited time, I haven't gone into everything we do, but mainly our sources of income for the county are signing cremation permits and selling reports. So we have a charge approved by the commissioners for autopsy reports, for the investigator reports, and then a cremation permit. I think it's $75 for that. And what we do, even if it's not a medical examiner case, if somebody wants to cremate their loved one, we at least look into it. At the very minimum, we look at the death certificate and make sure that there's no concerns the way the death certificate has been signed. In other words, if the person who signed the doctor who signed the death certificate isn't a medical examiner, but they're putting down that the person died from an accident, that's illegal. We're the only ones, Dr. Start and I are the only ones that can certify any death other than a natural. So we just make sure there's nothing inappropriate. And sometimes with a little more digging, we'll determine that there is a concern about the death. And occasionally we have pulled these people in for an autopsy prior to them being cremated. So we do have a system for that, and there is a modest charge for that. Well, up there, our future concern is getting a decent mooring facility. Besides what I mentioned earlier, one of the concerns that I have, I'm not a spring chicken, and really neither is Dr. Start, although he's younger than I am. So one of these days, we would like to be able to initiate succession planning. And my thought was, let's at least get ourselves into the new morgue and get it up and running and get the glitches worked out. And then I would probably step down and we'd look for, either I might work part-time or I might get booted. I don't know. But we would try to find a young person, hopefully somebody with some uh, fire in their belly to take over this system. And it's a great opportunity, in my opinion. But in our current facility, it just isn't very good. I think a young person that's out of training that's going to want to work in a top-rate facility isn't going to come here because they would expect a decent morgue. So those are some reasons why we're looking forward to that. I think I probably, if I'm not over my time, I'm approaching it. So maybe now's a good time for questions if anyone has any.
Yes, I would like, as we all know on this commission, we've been, one of our number one priorities has been a new medical examiner's office. I just asked Al to just give a little brief update for those that might not have some of the information, so you just kind of know where we're at, commissioners.
Sure.
We do have a facility design, and as we reported to the executive committee, we are taking a pause, not a long pause, but we have to discuss possibly integrating with the ICU medical school, and that there could be a potential for even a greater partnership involving the Western Medical School and Kalamazoo Medical Examiner's Office is located. In each of these medical examiner's offices have a much wider geographic area that they serve. So there might be it might make a lot of sense to have on the phone. For example, cold case work happens in Lens. There could be a world where we can't go right here and try to see. So that's kind of what we're looking at. We hope to have a solution at that time. And we'll
Thank you. Or with our lack of getting it going, you just realize we don't want you to leave, right? So,
Well, I'm not planning on leaving voluntarily, except for when I retire, and hope I make it to that point.
great. Commissioners, Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Burrow. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We've been talking about a new facility for you for a long time. It's not just been a few years. And for you to hold that, accreditation on the facilities that you have speaks volumes of your work and your just persistence. So my question is just a general one. So on a homicide, when there is, or even a questionable death, 2 to 3 months seems more than quick enough for those reports to be complete if they're going to be thorough. Where do you weigh in on when the bodies can be released? And what happens if something does come up and say, we've got to look at one more other thing?
So the question is, okay, when we do an autopsy, say a homicide in particular, and when do we decide that the body can be released? We try to take all the important evidence at the time of the autopsy. So if somebody were to die now and say it's a homicide and they're brought in, we start cases, if they're there before 2:00, we begin them and do them that day. So that would be done today. And we would take specimens, blood, hair, fingernail scrapings if it's a homicide, and photographs. We send any evidence, if there's a bullet, or certainly if there's clothing, which there usually is, we'd send that to the police. If there's a potential for sexual assault, we would do that sexual assault kit right then and there, turn that into the police. So usually the body would be releasable as long as there's a family to claim it and so on, the same day or the next day after the autopsy. We do want to turn that around because we know that families are very concerned. We don't want to miss anything, But that's why we take lots of specimens and at the time of the autopsy. So usually within a day, I would say.
How much time do you spend in court?
Not as much. The question is, how much time do I spend in court? You'd think there'd be a lot, but some cases, well, I'm going to answer the question first, and I can speculate. So court probably is about twice a month. And of course, most of it's here. We also do cases for other counties. But luckily, both in Kent and other counties, because of Zoom, we can at least, or I can at least, and my partner, we can testify from work or home or wherever. But probably, so if I were to drive downtown here from work, I'd say it's usually about 4 hours for an average testimony, but at most twice a month. So, sure.
Commissioner DeBoer.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Cole, thank you so much for your good work, and I may creep out my colleagues, but I find your work fascinating, and I would love to tour your facility if that is an opportunity.
Oh, yeah, sure. I would say the best number, since we're just talking about it right now, 774-7499. That'll get our on-site administrative assistant, and she can arrange, usually be in the afternoon when we're not doing cases.
774-7499?
Yes, that's it. Elizabeth.
All right,
So
Commissioner Hennessy.
Our administrators talked about this a little bit. Can you put out your crystal ball and tell us where the medical examiner office will be going in terms of medical education, the regionalization, and, how we begin to plan out 10, 20 years, since it's taken that long to plan our, to work with our current facility?
well, I guess in one way of saying it, size matters. So we would need, and we do have right now the plans that we've talked about and hopefully will be acted upon, would give us about a 20 to 30 year projected space utilization. As far as teaching, I mean, what we do now, and I'd like to continue it, we get medical students who can take an elective time with us. Usually it's 2 weeks, used to be 4, but we would take them for a month if they wanted to. We also get some undergraduate students who are pre-med and or physician assistant or whatever other medical areas that come in and observe. So it'd be nice to have, and we also get trainees, physicians who have graduated, who are training in such, really any specialty, emergency medicine, internal medicine, and so on, surgery. And they are allowed to do an elective with us as well. So it'd be nice to have actual space for them, like a desk or a small office. Now they just come into the morgue, change their clothes. When they're done, they change their clothes back and go home. But it'd be nice to have, if they want to do reading or whatever. So without getting into the weeds too much, it'd be nice to have space for students for us to continue to train students. We want a conference room. Sometimes we have conferences with police prosecutors, or we have a teaching conference every month that we do now, where we go over the cases and review them and look for the quality of the pictures and that sort of thing, consultations. So we'd like a nice, good-sized conference room. It would be nice, as Al mentioned, if we could get an affiliation with MSU and some other schools. I think that's in discussion. And regionalization is a concept that the state has looked at over the years quite a bit, trying to have regional. Right now in the state of Michigan, we have sort of unofficial regions. We cover Kent County and a number of other counties, some of the Ottawa County cases, and we get them from up north, some autopsies, even from the UP, mainly from Sault Ste. Marie, Chippewa County. So it'd be nice to, have maybe an official region where all the counties that are involved are putting money into the facility and support. So I guess those are some things: regionalization, teaching, having conference rooms available. Also, maybe we might use the conference room, and probably would. Sometimes families want to come in; they just want to ask questions and stuff. And right now, they come into my tiny office or Dr. Start's tiny office, and they're crammed in there. But it'd be nice to have sort of a more professional, healing environment for them to ask questions about their loved ones' deaths. So that would be maybe part of our conference room. I'd have to revisit the plans. I haven't seen them for a little while.
Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Cole, you're one of the county's unsung heroes working in the basement of the Blodgett. And I really, really hope that, soon we have a new facility for you. Do we have any idea of, like, from concept to potential construction, when something might actually be built?
Well, I think certainly within a year and a half, 2 years from the time we actually get to go ahead and move forward.
And I had one other question. You mentioned that within 1 hour of death, you're usually on site. And I can't imagine that most people have 774-7499 as a ready number. Do you work with the Kent County Sheriff's Department through the 911? Do most people report that through 911?
No, we have what they call, it's an old-fashioned term, but an exchange. This is a bunch of operators. They contract also with some doctors' offices for emergency calls. So they are called when there is a reportable death by the police or hospitals, even nursing homes. Those are the main ones. And they'll call the exchange. The exchange will then find one of our 8 investigators. And usually it doesn't take too long. And the responding investigator then will call back to the reporting facility.
Wow, that's a lot more complicated than I thought, but it
We'd
sounds
like
like
to
it
have-
works.
It'd be nice to be simpler. We've talked about having Kent County Sheriff dispatch for us. If they don't want to, for probably too much, I guess, too many calls. But so we're always open, and I would remain open to other. It'd be nice to have a direct line into our office instead of having to share a group of operators with doctors' offices. But maybe when we get into the new facility, we can kind of set that up better.
I look forward to that day. And I told Commissioner DeBoer I'm going to join her on that tour.
Yeah, you're welcome to come over. It's all decorated for Christmas.
As long as you're alive.
Yeah, that's right. You don't want to be rolled into our facility or rolled out.
Do we have any other commissioners' comments or questions? All right, thank you, Dr. Cole. I
Thanks a
appreciate
lot.
you coming today. All right, next item on our agenda, brought to us from the board office, appointments to various boards, commissions, and committees. Do I have a motion, please? Motion by Pakla, supported by Teal. Comments, questions? This will be brought to us on our organizational meeting on the 3rd of January. Commissioner Hennessy.
I am curious. We did quite a push from Kent County in terms of Facebook news releases, emails on the airport seat. And how many applicants did we end up having, and how did we handle that review?
There were 43 applicants on that. And there was Chair Korndike, who chairs the Kent County Ford Airport Board. He went from the county seat to the business member 1 seat. So as the current chair, thought it would be nice to keep him in that seat and then open up those county seats for potential board chair appointments on that.
Right. I would just wonder at the media push we had when, with this small authority board, that we're keeping an incumbent. If the intent was to, sort of favor an incumbent to begin with, why would we, boost the hopes, the expectations of 42 other people?
Well, I think we thought the process to open it up, Chair Korndike did put his name in the first time as well, and then it was removed. And we thought it would be best to reopen that up to make sure those resumes were included in there. And It's a board where we do get a lot of applicants.
We do.
And a good number of them do not qualify, or what I would dare say would not be appropriate to put on that board based on their current experience. But obviously, we want to encourage people to continue to apply for these boards and commission seats. These are not seats that people are favored forever to be in. So again, we want to keep on encouraging them to put their names in and their resumes in, because we do believe there's times where there will be turnover eventually, that we will need to be putting good applicants towards that position and many others.
How did we review the 42 applicants?
Well, that I reviewed the resumes of the 42, and then I met with Commissioners DeBoer and Commissioners Green on solidifying Commissioner Chair Korndike to that member one seat.
Thank you.
Commissioner Teal.
Thank you, Chair Burrow. I just wanted to point out that I did consult with legal counsel and determine that there is not a conflict of interest with the appointment of my father, Dan Korndike, to the airport board. There is not a financial benefit to either him or I, since it is a volunteer position.
Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair. Of all of the duties that we have as commissioners, I found that this particular request to participate in interviewing candidates for these commission appointments to be one of the most important things that I've done as a commissioner. And I'm just amazed at the quality of the individuals that put themselves out there to come to the county to assist us with all this difficult work that we're doing, in these various committees and commissions. And in some cases, we had so many qualified candidates. I mean, 4 out of 4 in one of the interviewing sessions that we had, we determined would be excellent candidates. And it's hard. It's really, really hard to, say, of all 4 excellent qualified candidates, which ones do you pick? And so, having gone through this process now a couple times, I'm humbled by the responsibility, and I really appreciate being a part of this. And I think as a commissioner, this is one of the most important things that we do as county commissioners. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Oh, and I did want to thank all the commissioners that are involved in that process. I mean, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to review all of the resumes that are sent to us in advance, and then find opportunity to meet with the commissioners, to actually go through the interviewing process that takes hours and hours. And so, thank you to all the commissioners who participate.
All right. Any other commissioner? Commissioner Ponstein.
Well, I'll just add to Commissioner Bujak's comment. The 2 people to my left are the real ones that sort through these, get us together, and find a time when we all can come together. So my thanks goes out to them and their work in assisting this board.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners' comments or questions? I'd like to thank Commissioner DeBoer and Teal for chairing the committee, and everyone at this dais right here that spent the time and energy to interview. Again, it is a lot of work, a lot of fantastic candidates, like Commissioner Bujak mentioned, and those decisions are very tough sometimes. And we do encourage everyone to continue to apply for these appointments. They're important, and again, it is good work. Commissioner DeBoer was fresh off of surgery and coming in and doing her job. And I know there's many others that have busy schedules and take time out to make these appointments and recommendations. All right, so that being said, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed? That will go to full board on the 3rd of January with our new group. Commissioner Miscellaneous. Is there any Commissioner Miscellaneous? Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Burrow. So I couldn't make the last full board meeting. I did have an opportunity to watch it from a hotel room on the live stream, so I got to experience that whole experience. But I was reappointed for a 3rd year on the National Association of Counties Board of Directors. It was probably something I didn't want to do. It does take up a lot of time, especially to attend the meetings that I have to go to. The cost to send me there isn't picked up by this county. It's picked up by another entity. So it gives me an opportunity to see a lot of really different things. This quarter's meeting was held in Sonoma County, where the new president of NACO resides. And, when I go to these other towns and the meetings that we have there, it's a great opportunity. County government just isn't good here. It's an incredible governmental unit, sector, I guess you could call it, too, of the way we deal with problems. And though the problems in Sonoma County, a lot of them are similar, there's other things. I mean, they control their water department and the drinking water of 600,000 people that reside in the area. They took us on tours of the damage from the Tubbs fire, which is 7-8 years ago now. And, they're the first ones to admit that, when you've got a disaster plan, you really don't know how good it is until the disaster hits. And they were brutally honest. There were, mistakes made. And that was one thing that they kind of stressed, is that, they owned up to it. You can't find, or tell people excuses of why this didn't happen. It just happened. And they didn't do it, but they've made adjustments. I've met a lot of great people. Someone that started a charity after the fire came up to me when she saw the Michigan tag and said, "I'm a Calvin College graduate." And I said, "Well, it's a university now." And she did. But, it's amazing, people that know Grand Rapids, know Kent County, and more so know the state of Michigan. So it's a great opportunity. I also got the tour. They're pretty much number 1, 2 industry is agriculture. There was an assault during, under the California election initiative law that they have. There was a proposal from an out-of-state special interest group that pretty much tried to put every single dairy farm out of business. It was fun to see all the groups that did come together in support of agriculture. I don't know if that would have happened in this county, but they beat back that proposal 90% to 10%. And there's a lot of people that are proud. Sonoma County delivers a lot of goods throughout not just the state of California, but throughout the United States. So, I learned a lot. I can't, give you a full report. I'd be here talking for hours, but it's stuff that sticks with me. Being on that board gives me access to information, and keeps me updated on what NACO's doing and what the plans are. So I did mention that I did get to stream the meeting. It was interesting. It was a long meeting. I credit all of you for being there. I think everything possible that had to be said was said. The only thing that really, listening to it on a telephone screen, the theme that I kept hearing is that, we had one person on the zoo board that used the word bully during a meeting that was also contentious. I've talked to that person several times. He just feels horrible. He said, "I misspoke. It was an emotional time, and the word just came out. And if he could change it, he could." But there was so much emphasis put on that one thing. I mean, I listen to public comment all the time, and in heated discussions, people do misspeak, say something that they wish they didn't. But to have that as kind of a rally call, the person that made that is a volunteer on that board, has donated money, provided services, and and then intertwined with that is that we don't trust the board, we don't trust Peter, and we've got to rebuild those relationships. I'm doubtful whether that relationship after what we put the zoo through, can be repaired. I mean, some of those people are former county employees. Peter came in with a charge to do one thing, is that, transform that zoo. That's something that the county did. We're not going to give you any really direct money, so the only thing you can do is to grow your revenue through people that come to the zoo. And that's what they've done. And now they're being attacked for that. The parking lot improvements that are going to happen. I mean, that was a dangerous parking lot. My short time on the zoo board. I mean, we've got buses coming in, kids getting off those buses. The new improvements to the parking lot that they're working on now is going to make it a much safer, convenient place for people to park. And the zoo has been looking at other alternatives. I mean, why isn't there a transit bus taking people from around the area into there? I mean, they've asked and nothing's happened. And, what the county did by taking that zoo over. I mean, I wish I could turn the clock back and show you what that zoo looked like when I was a kid. Smelly, small cages, short of, I mean, that's what PETA loves to thrive on, our experiences like that. But going forward, I mean, I'm positive that, everything that, the zoo is going to be doing is not only going to enhance the community and the neighborhood, but the whole state. I mean, once again, last year, people from every state had a representative that came to that zoo. And I think that's something to be proud of. So I don't want to rehash things, but yeah, we've got a challenge here because right now we've got the majority of the public feels that we can't trust the zoo staff or Peter. And I think those thoughts, however they got out or became our narrative, needs to change. So I'll just leave it at that and wish everyone, if you celebrate Christmas, have a blessed Christmas, Hanukkah, and all the other, religious activities. I hope you find time to get out, enjoy it with your family, and look forward to 2025 working with most of you here. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hennessy.
I'd like to ask, we received information on changes in our housing voucher program, and I have, to learn more about that. One question that was raised with me yesterday was, with the housing voucher change, will the vouchers go to the person and can they take them outside of Kent County? And, just generally, I had read that Mishta, there was a newspaper article that Mishta was getting out of the housing voucher program, yet they're going to be a partner with us in this. And just a little bit more to elaborate on what's the changes and if and whenever we do funding, we always say the funding is, for the positions is contingent on it remaining available. And so what is the impact on employees?
While Jenny's walking up, I can say the answer is yes and yes to your two questions. And it would be news to me if Michigan's not going to be in the housing voucher program.
Yeah, Mishta has engaged in agreement with us to accept the transfer. So I don't, and they have a lot of vouchers across the state. I do not expect them. They've given no indication that they're going to stop doing that program. And yes, the voucher belongs to the person, the renter. They can live right here in Grand Rapids or in Northern King County or wherever they want. HUD gives them the voucher.
They can live outside of the county as well then?
Yep.
So the voucher belongs to the person?
The person, not the managing entity.
Okay.
Yep.
So the inspections on the homes and that type of thing will all be done through Mishta
Yes.
on the same kind of schedule as we used to hold?
Probably a more timely schedule even than we had.
Okay. And the employees?
Yeah, we have 2 employees currently that are operating the program. We are working with Human Resources and KCCA to see if there's another position within KCCA or the county government that they would like to take on after they complete the transfer work. So HR has been a great partner with us on that piece.
So if I could ask one more question, it would be like, it's being said, you know, we've been told repeatedly from July on that there wasn't the money to support this, that it wasn't paying for itself. So when we accept grant funds, we usually, you know, have the budgets for the personnel, the benefits, that type of thing. So how did this happen, or what was the nature of not paying for itself?
So it's somewhat complicated, but the timing, HUD is not very timely in getting us payments. And because we operate as a relatively small program in a relatively small government department, we don't have a lot of other funds, in fact, any, to keep us whole while we wait for HUD. Other organizations that have a more complex housing system and program have more flexibility. And MISTA is an example of that. They have brick and mortar housing. They have a wide variety of ways to keep their operations going when they find that they have a little bit of a slump in the revenue for housing choice vouchers. And they have a little more flexibility in their pay, benefits, spending that we're a little bit more limited in our flexibility when it comes to those expenses that help support the program also.
Commissioner Bujak.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to recognize Commissioner Ponstein for his leadership here at the county, at the state level, and now at the national level. Congratulations on your appointment to the NACO Board of Directors. You know, the influence that we have as Kent County Commissioners and the work that we're doing here certainly benefits the citizens of Kent County. But we are recognized through the MTA, you know, for our leadership at the state level. Commissioner Ponstein served as the president of the Michigan Association of Counties recently, and now his appointment at the National Association of County Commissioners puts Kent County at on the national stage, and our ability to bring this leadership and our style of leadership to the national level is just so incredible. So, Commissioner Ponstein, I appreciate what you're doing. And I've been a member of the Michigan Association of County and National Association of Counties, and I intend to support Stan and all his work and attend those meetings. And I did want to say Merry Christmas to everyone.
All right. Any other commissioners' comments? You took number one from me, and that was to thank Commissioner Ponstein for his MAC and NACO involvement. He was vitally involved on helping us get four-year seats at the county level in the state of Michigan. I think we all will appreciate that, and all do appreciate that, especially next year this time. Instead of filing, we will be able to thank Commissioner Ponstein that we don't have to at that time. So again, thank you for that work. I also like to thank this committee. The new year will have some new committee structures. It's been a privilege to chair this the last couple of years, and what a great group of folks here that are involved and do great work, ask great questions. For my first 2 years on the board to my last 2 years on the board, this board and the folks that are on here are so engaged and ask great questions. You know, we don't have, very seldom we have people up there that we just don't say anything to. So again, I appreciate every one of you here for doing that. And yes, just last meeting of the year. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Good New Year, and we will see you on January the 3rd. Meeting is adjourned.